Well, hello everybody and welcome to Jeff's Baking Blog. Today I'm going to make what I hope is going to be the perfect lime tart. So it's a sort of a lime curd which is partially cooked in a saucepan but then poured into a baked pastry crust and put back into the oven for a few minutes so that it cooks until it just about sets. It's actually not a difficult recipe and should taste very, very good. A nice tart lime flavour. So I'll go on to the ingredients, and for the pastry I have 210 grams, which is 1 1/3 cups plus 1 tablespoon of plain flour. I have 140 grams, 10 tablespoons of melted unsalted butter, 3 grams, half a teaspoon of salt, and 62 grams, 5 tablespoons of caster sugar. So that's just for the pastry. And then for the lime filling, I have 3 medium eggs, which would be large in the USA, and as you can see I broke one of the eggs when I cracked it open. I also have 3 medium egg yolks, again large in the USA, and I cracked one of those. I broke one of those as well. I have 56 grams, 4 tablespoons or 1/4 of a cup of unsalted butter. I have 200 grams, 1 cup of caster sugar. I have 19 grams, 2 tablespoons of plain flour. I have 1.5 grams, which is 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt. I have the zest from a couple of the limes, and I have 120 millilitres, half a cup of lime juice. I also have here just a little bit of green colouring liquid, which I'm going to drop into the curd just to give an extra bit of colour, because lime is not going to turn a pale green colour or a lime green colour just from the juice alone. But it doesn't matter, you can do it without the food colouring, it will still taste perfect. So that's all the ingredients, and the first thing to do is to so that's all the ingredients. And just in case I didn't give the cup measurements for the flour, I'll do it again. 210 grams, which is 1 1/3 cups plus 1 tablespoon, and that's based on scooping packed flour into a 250 millilitre cup. So we'll go on to make the pastry. And to make the pastry, I'm going to put my flour, sugar and salt into a larger bowl, and then I'm just going to give those a bit of a whisk around. And then I'm going to pour in my melted butter, and I'm going to mix that around until it forms a dough basically. And that quickly forms a dough, and I'm going to put that into a 23 centimetre or a 9-inch tart tin, which has a removable base. Now I'm going to hold back about 1/4 of the dough for the edges, so I'll use 3/4 on the base and then 1/4 around the edge. So there I have about about 3/4 of my dough, which is just over 300 grams, and I'm simply going to crumble that over my base. And I have put some parchment paper on my base. I don't think you need it, but I've done that just to be sure that it doesn't stick, but it's a non-stick base, so it should be fine. And with that crumbled over the base like that, I'm going to press it down and even it out so that I have the entire base covered. And you could use the back of a spoon to do this, and that's roughly covering the base, and I'm going to smooth that off a bit later. But I'll take the other 1/4 of the dough and I'm just going to sprinkle that around the edge of the pan, and then I'm going to press that up the sides to create my rim. And so with that roughly around the edge, I'm simply going to squeeze it up the side so I have flattened my dough and leveled it off with a spoon just like that, and I pressed it up around the sides. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that in my fridge and I'm going to chill it while I preheat the oven to 180 degrees Celsius. That's 160 Celsius with a fan, 350 Fahrenheit. And then when the oven is preheated, I'm going to put this in and I'm going to bake it for about 30 minutes. Now I might leave it for 35 minutes, but I want to bake it until it's baked through quite nicely. And as that time comes to an end, I'll come back and we're going to make the curd, and we're going to pour the curd into the tart case while the tart case is still warm, basically, and then we'll put it back into the oven and bake it for a little longer. So I'll come back when I'm ready to make the lime curd as the tart case is baking. So with the pastry case baking in the oven, I'm going to put my sugar into a saucepan and my 2 tablespoons of flour and the salt, and I'm going to mix those around. And then I'm just going to drop my zest in as well. I'm just going to mix that around, and I'm going to just rub it in to release some of the oils, just briefly. And that's good like that. And then I'm going to add in my 3 eggs and my 3 egg yolks. And I'm going to whisk those around and get them fully combined. And then I'm going to pour in my lime juice as well and mix that through. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in just a little bit of my food colouring, just a couple of drops, and I mix it through. I don't want a strong colour. And I think I can do just a little drop more. And I think that's good enough. So then I'm going to put that onto the heat, and I'm going to whisk it all the time on a gentle heat until it begins to thicken and the temperature reaches 71 degrees Celsius, which is about 161 degrees Fahrenheit, and that will then be thick enough for me to be able to pour it into my tart case once that's baked. So I'll put the heat on, and then I'll just stir this. And as you can see, that is getting thicker, and it's almost at 70 degrees now. That's at 71, so that's hot enough. So I'm going to turn the heat off, and I'm going to put my quarter cup, 4 tablespoons of butter in, and I'm going to stir that around. And then I'm going to strain that, ready to go into our tart case. So I'm going to pour my curd into a strainer and strain it. And the reason for that is to get rid of any lumps which may have formed, and also the lime zest. So that's strained. And that's ready to go into our tart case as soon as it's out of the oven. So my tart case is out of the oven, having baked, and I have to say there was a little crack just there, but because I had the egg white from those 3 egg yolks that I used, I brushed some egg white on that crack, put it back in the oven and baked it for another minute, and that sealed that crack, so that should be fine. So then I'm going to pour my lime curd mixture into the tart case, like that, and I'm going to put that back into the oven, and I'm going to bake it for about 10 minutes until if I shake it gently, it seems to be cooked around the outside and just the slightest of little jiggles in the middle. And at that point I'll take it out of the oven. Then I'm going to leave it to cool completely, which should take 2 hours, could even take 3 hours. And once it's cooled completely, I'll come back and I'll show it to you and we'll have a taste of it. I baked my tart case for 10 minutes once I'd poured the curd into the tart case, and I checked it after 10 minutes and it had just the slightest of jiggles in the centre, so I took it out and put it onto a wire rack and left it to cool down for a couple of hours. Then I carefully took it out of the tart pan and I cut a slice. So this is what it looks like now. and it's baked up very well. As you can see, the pastry is fully cooked on the bottom, and the curd is set nicely as well. Now the colour is slightly yellow. I could have maybe added more colour in, but as I said, you don't need to use colouring. It's all about the flavour really. So I'll have a taste of the piece that I've got to one side. Very, very good. The flavour of the lime is wonderful. It's tart, of course, but it has sweetness from that sugar as well. It's quite mellow, but definite citrus lime flavour, and then the lovely crunch of the biscuity tart case as well. So this isn't a difficult tart to make, and works very, very well. Be perfect with some cream or something on a warm summer's day. So that's going to be it for this recipe. I hope you've enjoyed it, and if you have, please give me the thumbs up below and click to subscribe to my YouTube channel. In the top right hand corner of the screen there'll be an eye that you can click on, and that will take you to a link for the recipe, and I'll put a link below the video as well. And I'll be back with another recipe in the very near future. So until then, happy baking.